All right, let's go to William in Dayton, Ohio with my regular voice. What's up, brother? How we doing?
Doing good, John. How about yourself?
We are partying in here, man. That's not really true. We're not. We're just hanging out, drinking tea. So what's up, man?
Well, a little background real quick. I have two children that have come into my home 7 years ago. They're my great niece and nephew. And the nephew is now, he just turned 12. And we're having some disciplinary issues with him. And now he's starting even to dabble into pornography.
So how did he end up in your house, man?
Well, his parents were heroin addicts. And one night we got a call that they were going to be taken by Children's Services. So we said, we're in. We'll take these kids.
What a stud, man.
I know we're parents again. You know, I mean, we were just about to be paroled from our kids. And here we are again. You know, but
it's like you're empty nesters, and then birds from above just fell back into your nest, and you're like, "Oh, here we go." Hey, high five to you, man, for not by your hand, but in your lap. A problem, a challenge dropped itself in your front yard, and you married.
Yeah. Me and my wife have been married now 17 years.
Man, you all stepped up and said, "Come on in," and good for you guys. That's incredible. Is it your brother or your brother-in-law, your sister?
It's my nephew's children.
Nephew's kids, okay.
My sister's son.
Okay, so
yeah.
Where are they? How are they doing?
Okay, the mother, we have no idea where she is at this time. But the father, he is recovering from heroin. He's been clean for a year.
Wow.
And we have slowly been introducing him back into their lives, but it's been extremely careful.
Okay, good for them, man.
You know, he's totally respected us as far as parents go. He doesn't try to jump up and say, "Hey, I'm their dad. I can say this and I can do." No, whatever we say goes, and he respects us for that.
Wow,
so that's nice.
That's incredible. That means you're drawing great boundaries. That means even through his healing and recovery, he knows y'all were there for him and for his kids. That's a family that speaks truth to each other. You're a model for folks around. So good for you, brother. So
we've worked hard at it.
Well, it is hard, man. It's hard work. You got to practice it. It's tough. So you have a 12-year-old little boy, and then your daughter. How old is she?
She is 8.
Okay. So 12-year-old is into pornography. What you say? There's some disciplinary issues. What's been going on?
Well, I mean, I tell you that the boy will lie to you when the truth sounds better. You know,
yeah.
You can't trust what he says, and we're almost like helicopter parents to the extreme, because now when he says something, it's your homework. Now we have to go back, check everything, make sure it's all done, because then he's going to fall behind because it's not done.
Yeah.
You know, and my wife even put together like a clipboard list of them things to do in the evening and in the morning so they can stay on task with their responsibilities. And you can say, "Hey, did you do your clipboard?" "Yep, we did it." "No, they didn't." You gotta basically follow it around and make sure it all gets done. And I mean, we're 7 years in, and my wife and I, we're very proactive parents. You know, we're not the kind of parent that threatens and then doesn't follow through. We absolutely believe that a consequence has to come with a decision that they make, good or bad. You know, there's something going to happen. And, you know, if we feel like if we don't follow through, then we become liars to the children, and we're not going to do that. We're going to follow through. They know what's going to happen.
Right.
And, you know, that's just the way we've always parented. But like I said, right now, and the boy, he's extremely intelligent. Mm-hmm. He really is. I mean, he was the honor roll last year, but this year he's decided to shuck his responsibilities. And, you know, we're not big video game people and stuff. We don't allow the kids to have free. They don't have cell phones. They don't have iPads and stuff. And if they do use ours, it's under very strict supervision.
Sure.
But, you know, he would get up in the middle of about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, he got up in the middle of the night, one of the iPads, and we found him in his bedroom at 3 a.m. looking at porn.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know, and I understand puberty. I get all that, but I've tried to explain to him the dangers of what he's messing with. And we're about to have the internet just removed from our house. We don't need it. You know, I mean, it's too dangerous. It's like having a loaded gun in the house.
There you go, man. So, number one, you nailed it. Like, I don't begrudge a 12-year-old for wanting to see naked people having sex.
Right.
He's 12, right? So
Right.
I want to take off. He's not dysfunctional. He's not screwed up. He's absolutely plugged in normal. I mean, that doesn't get my heart rate up. Even figuring out a way at 3 a.m. to find it. You know, if back when you were a kid, if you knew your dad had a Playboy hidden somewhere in the house, you'd wait till 2 a.m. and you'd try to find it, right? So that part,
you're absolutely right.
That part doesn't get my heart rate up. Here's where you have the great challenges that lies before you. A couple of them. Number one, these children, their earliest memories, and when I say memories, I don't mean cognitive memories. I mean memories that have been encoded into their bodies, is one of addicts. Heroin addicts, opiate addicts who were present but not present, and probably no one will ever fully understand what was going on in those homes. In the homes they were in, and the homes that their parents didn't show up and they didn't come back home, or they slept for 3 days, whatever that looked like. Man, we will probably never know what those kids saw and or experienced.
Right.
What they do know is that even when you're talking about a heroin addict, it's very similar to an alcoholic. Your mom can be looking you in the eye and be completely not present with you. Or she can disappear in the house on the couch for a day, 2 days, or 3 days at a time. The word I'm getting at here that is encoded into your child, into the kids that you are raising, is disconnection.
Yeah.
And so your son found some pseudo connection through performance. He made the honor roll, did all the stuff. He's also finding disconnection through doing nothing, because you still reach out to him, you're still loud, you still hold him accountable, and he's seen. The only way through this road, and it's going to be hard, you're talking neural synapse growth. It's going to take weeks and days and months and years. Is he has to understand that he is a being of value and he's got a participation role. The house cannot function without him. And he's going to have to learn the weight of what connection actually means. And for my dad, I knew that he loved me. And when he gave me jobs and I didn't do them, accountability and consequence look like X. Your accountability and consequence is going to have to look different. Here's what I mean by that. Have you heard me talk about?
That's why I'm calling.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, it's awesome. And hey, I don't get a lot of dads who say, I love my kid this much that I'm willing to, I've been running, I was running the run and shoot offense and it's not working. So is it a possibility we can run the ball, right? That's rare that a dad does that, especially a dad on round two. You know everything, and you're still being humble enough to say, is there another way here, man? So, I mean, I'm telling you, you're a model for dads out there. Good for you, brother.
Well, I thought I knew it. No, I don't. I learned a whole new rule.
So here's what I did in my house. Okay, I'm just going to tell you what I did in my house. And you may have heard me say this before, and I'll say it 1,000 times again, is I went to, and it sounds cheesy and it sounds lame. You can do this however it works in your house. When my kids were young, we did it one way. We're about to redo it, and it will be a lot more funny, and we'll be a lot more silly and winking at each other. We'll be a little more sarcastic about it, but the goal and the root is still the same. We went and got a canvas at like a Michael's or one of those craft stores, Crafts, et cetera, one of those kind of stores. And you can use a 2x4. Not 2x4, but like plywood. I don't care how you do it. But we sat together and we created the Delony family values. Here's who we are. And the kids got to speak into it. We tell the truth. We all have adventures. We say yes. We treat each other with dignity. We set up from the floor up. Here's who we are. Here's what it means to be a Delony. And then what I realized I was doing is we'd be about to go fishing, me and my son about to go fishing. He would not have done his chores or something. And then I'd say, well, we're not going fishing. And because you did this, I'm not taking you fishing. And what I did was I began to weaponize my relationship with him. If you don't do what I want, you don't have access to me. What I ended up doing now is I flipped it. The same consequence happens. If he hasn't done his things, he knows that the house relies on, a part of the house functions because he's in this family. And if he doesn't get his chores done, his stuff done that we agreed on would have to happen before we go fishing, my language, I point back to our values and I tell him, dude, man, I'm choosing to be heartbroken today because you opted out of going fishing. You didn't want to go with me. And you demonstrated that by X and Y and Z. And what he learns in real quick fashion, I'm going to tell you, it changed our house positively, is he grew to understand really quickly that he gets to choose his behaviors, he gets to choose his thoughts, and he gets to choose what happens next. Not me. I'm not weaponizing my relationship. I want to go, but he opted out. And when he's married, this is going to pay dividends. When he's going to college and he realizes, oh, I chose to get an F because I chose not to study. I chose to get fired from this job because I chose not to be on time. I chose not to fill in the blank. He's learning early on that he has a role, not that other people are just going to be lobbing grenades at him. So often children lie. They lie because they don't believe they can measure up, because there's a performative value to the relationship in their home, or because they just get exhausted. They don't want to deal with it. They don't like the 2-hour conversations, the over and over, the 20 questions, the 40 questions, the X and Y's and these. And so what I want parents to do who've got kids who are lying to them is really simplify your message. You can't talk. A 12-year-old can't comprehend all this stuff. They're 12. They can't do 2-hour, 3-hour marathon sessions. They're 12. What they can do very simply is, hey, as a family, we said we don't lie. I hate that you chose to lie, man. Here's X, Y, and Z. Here's what you chose. Please consider choosing something else tomorrow because we love you having you around. In this house, we treat each other with dignity. You're not going to swear at the dinner table at somebody. You're not going to tell, like, my wife that you hate her. And that's coming, by the way. As he figures out, y'all aren't my parents, those are my parents, I want to go home, all that kind of nonsense that's coming down the pipe for you. Man, I hate that you opted out of being with us. Hate that, because we love having you here. You're a valued member of this table. And so do you see how subtle this is? The same thing still happened, but you are letting him know this house rests on him too. He is not fully, he can't handle that kind of weight, but slowly over time, he's 12, 13, 15, 17, he has to understand, oh man, I've got strength. This guy loves me. He's not going to lecture me. He's not going to try to talk to me all the time. But man, he counts on me and he leans on me, and I've got a choice in how this thing runs.
Right.
And here's where the final ... here. Here's where this gets really hard for you. He can opt out. He can opt out. And he's got to own those consequences. He's got to own those choices, but he can't own them until you've trained him on what owning looks like. Once you train him on, here's what ownership looks like, here's how this works. And remember, you are regrowing this young man's brain, because he's been through hell. His body's been through hell. He's never been connected to an adult. He's done what they say. He knows they're bigger than him and more powerful than him, and they provide him food and a roof, but he's never been connected to one.
Yeah, I agree. It's like he doesn't really, there's a trust issue there, and I understand why.
Yeah.
You know, and we just try to keep building that bridge, but he has such a hard time of expressing how he feels about stuff.
So
he does not know how to put it into words.
So here's what I want to give you. I've had people write into this show and tell me that they thought this was the stupidest advice, and it's been magic in their home with their teenager. I want you to try it. I want you to get a journal, overspend on it, get something nice. And it's going to be just a communication log between the two of you. And I want you to write him a note, make a commitment to write him a note. It could be 2 sentences. It could be a paragraph. Every day I want you to write in there to him, and you leave it on his bed. And his job is to write something back. It can be, don't want to talk, thank you, today was a good day. But I want you to write a couple of things that you saw in him that day that were great. Even if it's putting the toothpaste cap back on.
Right.
Whatever that is, but he can see it in writing. He can hold it. It's tangible. And what an addict's kid does is they slough off the good stuff and they are hyper alert for the bad stuff. Where am I disconnected?
Right.
Where am I going to get left again? And when you write it down on a piece of paper and he holds, and it's on his bed when he goes in his room after school and he sees it, man,
that's good stuff.
that guy's still there. And the rule is you got to write back. He can't just read it and throw it on the floor. He's got to write back. And his job is to find a special place in the house where he can put it. Your wife can set one up with him too. Maybe she does one with your daughter. And by the way, be vulnerable. Tell him, I had a hard day today. Work was tough. It was really, I didn't want to get out of bed today. Let him know what it's like because he's looking at you as though you're perfect and you're a drill sergeant and you are running the show. Let him know, hey man, this is hard. I'm tired. Sometimes I don't think I'm a very good dad. Sometimes I want to be better for you. Let him know those things, and he's not going to think he's crazy. If he will, 30-second hugs every day. My son's almost 12, 30-second hugs every day. I ask his permission. I don't like grab him and say no. And he's like, oh, Dad. But we do it, and it's big time. You think, how can we slowly build connection? Doesn't mean you let him off the hook. Doesn't mean that you don't hold him accountable. You got to do those things. Doesn't mean you don't, quote unquote, punish him. You got to do those things. But the punishment is letting him know, God, you opted out. I hate that. I hate that you made this choice. Please consider making a different choice tomorrow because I want to go fishing, man. I want to go fishing with you. This house needs you. Please consider rejoining us, man. And then that night in that journal, so grateful for you. I love you. So glad that you live in my house and that we get to spend this time together. So glad God brought me to you. Evoke the cosmos, brother. And then, William, be graceful with yourself. Be graceful with yourself, man. This kid's got a hard row, and his head and his heart are different than yours and mine. I don't know if you grew up with addiction or not, but he's got to learn what connection looks like. And, man, if you get to a place where you got to take the internet out of the house, so be it. You could probably just take the iPads and lock them up in your room, put them under your bed or something like that. I don't know if you got to take the whole internet out. But you're right. The internet's like having a loaded gun in your house. That's a great analogy, man. And good for you for being vigilant. Good for you for being vigilant, man. Don't beat your 11 or 12-year-old up for wanting to see naked people. That's normal. Your job is to stand in that gap and take away as much access as possible. And by the way, you can tell them, to dads everywhere, you can tell your 12-year-old, you know what this is doing to your mind? And it sounds like the teacher on Charlie Brown. Naked people are awesome. And 12-year-olds just now figuring that out. Somebody just walked through the lobby and I said that, and they just looked at me and were like, this show got off the rails. Yes, job is to stand in the gap for your 12-year-old. Access. It's your job to stand in the gap and prohibit that, man. Make sure they can't get a hold of it. I know it's everywhere. I know it's at school. I know it's on their friends' phones. Not in my house. Thank you so much for the call, William.